What was your closest call for crime? Oh my God, I still remember this. Listen, my dad did really well, but he never presented himself as a rich person. We didn't have gratuitous spending. I never wanted for anything, but my family wasn't like that, right? However, the other families in Princeton were all giga rich, right? They were all men and women who commuted to the city, and Princeton was this very nice commuter town. And there was one woman in Princeton whose dad was a wildly famous architect who basically was kind of estranged from his wife. Like, he lived overseas almost the full year, and the wife was like dating men, but they weren't divorced. So typically this one friend of ours would be in a house by herself, like a giant house with a bunch of cars. And we would just throw rippers. We were high school kids, and we would throw rippers in this like beautiful architect's house that had been designed like to a fare thee well and was so amazing. And we would treat it like a toilet, right? It was just I'll never forget, dude. I'll never forget. I was about to shotgun a beer, and I had a beer in my hand, and the cops walked in the front door, and I had a beer in my hand, and it had the shotgun hole in the beer, right? So, like, you know, when the cops come in and there's beer, you just pretend that, like, you aren't consuming it. But I was dead to rights. There I was with a beer in my hand, and the cop's like, "What's in your hand?" And I put it on a table, but it already had the shotgun hole in it. So it was like glug, glug. Like, there's just beer pouring out of the side. I don't know why I put it down. Like, it wasn't all gonna pour out, but like it just started gushing onto the floor. And I'm like making eye contact with this cop. And he was like, "Have you been drinking tonight?" And what I should have just said is, "No, officer." And he probably would have been cool. However, what I did say was nothing. And I knocked over the beer and just sprinted out the back door. And he followed me. And I was running for my fucking life. And in Princeton, the wealthy have this way to keep their backyards nice. Everybody in Princeton has an electric fence. I don't know if you're from an area where there are a lot of electric fences, but in Princeton, almost every single property has an electric fence around the border. And basically what it is like 6 pieces of electrical cable that are about this high, and they run pulsating electricity through them so that when a deer tries to enter your property, it gets shocked. And it's a pretty good jolt. I used to touch them when I was a kid because I was dumb, and you would get the shit shocked out of you. And I was dead sprinting for this fence, and I Fallsbury flopped over the fence and landed like flat on my back on the other side. And the cop got to the fence and was like, "I'm not doing this." Like, I think he just had this moment where he's like, "Am I going to get electrocuted so that I can give this kid a drinking citation?" And he just made the decision not to. And as a kid, you know, I was probably all right on the other side of that fence, but I'm pretty sure I ran a full half marathon that night. I just kept running into the endless abyss of the winter New Jersey woods for a good few miles. And then I used my chocolate flip phone to call my friends and be like, "Dude." Good. Sending text with like, what was the fucking old application where you would punch numbers and it would make words? T9. I was using T9 Word. Zoomers, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But back in the day, we didn't used to have letters on our fucking phones. We had just numbers. And so you'd be like, and we were so good at it. I could probably type faster on a T9 numerical keyboard then than I can on a keyboard now. That was probably the highest my testosterone ever was. as I now drink through my fucking reusable straw. What the fuck happened to me? Yes?
Hi, Will and chat. I have a date on Sunday with a nice girl and she wanted to do a slasher film marathon over weed, but it's my first time smoking. Any recommendations for a first timer?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that on a first date. Smoke weed for the first time on a first date? No, that's a nightmare. No. Simply don't do that. Take it slow. Don't try and Cheech and Chong that blunt or whatever you're smoking. Don't smoke out of a bong. There's no way you can do that without getting absolutely hazardously rip shit. Just a little dab will do you at first, you know? And don't do dabs. A little dab will do you unless you're doing dabs, in which case don't, because you're too high. The first time I ever smoked a dab, I was at like an influencer party with Hassan. And this is like when he was famous, basically, and I was not doing anything. I wasn't streaming yet. I was just like along for the ride, and I was bitter because this party sucked. And they had a free dab station. This was like 5 years ago. The dude was like, dude, you want to come fucking try a dab, bro? It was like an advertisement, right? It was like, oh, we run like the artist tree, or we run the Grateful Station, dude. We're a weed dispensary. And he had dabs, bro. And I told him, I was like, hey, I've never done a dab before. And he's like, oh, dude, I got you, bruh. Got you, dude. I got you, dude. Gets the bowl red hot, lightning hot. And then literally takes like a honey ladle, whatever those fucking things are called, and gives me like at least like a 2 foot long dab. Just keeps dropping it, and he's like, come on, clear it, dude. You can do it. Just clear it. Just clear it. And I'm like, and he's like, clear it, dude. Just come clear it, dude. Just fucking clear it. Caps it off. Come on. Clear it. Straight milk. And I'm just like, now I had smoked a lot of weed in my day as a young, stupid person, but I didn't understand that dabs are like the crack cocaine of weed. It's a whole nother level. It's a whole nother thing.
I'm
right?
doing DMT with my date tomorrow. Any advice?
No, don't. Please don't do that. Anyway, I smoked it. And I was like, dude, was that a lot? And the guy looked at me. He looked at me, and I'll never forget this.
Dorian Deadlow.
I'll never forget what this dude said to me. He said, see you later, dude. And I was like, what does that mean? What does that mean? See you later. Dude, like 30 seconds later, I was like, whoa. Just fucking wrecked. I found a lawn chair at like a degenerate influencer pool party. Everyone's like running around like, yay, having fun, like not eating. It's Los Angeles. And there I am with like a thing of free ice cream. I had a thing of free ice cream that I think Hassan brought me, but I wasn't using a utensil. I like threw the spoon away, and I just had like soft serve, and I was like a cat out of the fucking white cup. I sat there for 3 hours. 3 hours. I didn't move. I was fucking Back to the Future, bro. I was time traveling. I felt like Hassan was coming up to me every 30 seconds. It was like every hour and a half. He'd come up and be like, yo, are you good? I'd be like, dude, you're just fucking here, man. I'm just fucking listening to the spin of the earth. You know what I mean, dude? I'll tell you guys a story I've never told before. And all of this happened in a video game because for legal reasons. When I was in high school, there was a time that I figured out that you could start golf carts with 2 credit cards. If you push them together and push them in a like golf cart slot, you could turn the ignition and start a golf cart. Back when golf carts were like truly jank. And we used to basically hijack the golf carts on Princeton's campus and ride from one side to the other. We wouldn't do anything other than that. We would just use them to go from one side of the campus to the other. So let's say we're high and it's late at night and we are on one side of the campus near my friend Simon's house. Every once in a while, we'd take one of these golf carts and we'd go to the other side. Okay, it's my first semester in college, and I have a really good friend who will not be named. I showed him this trick on how to start a golf cart with 2 credit cards on my college campus. And I loved this kid. He was my best friend all throughout college. But he really took advantage of the golf carting more than I ever partook, right? It was like kind of like if you score a touchdown, act like you've been in the end zone before. Just because you can steal a golf cart doesn't mean you should typically steal a golf cart. It's my first semester of school. And I go out with this kid one night and he gets biblically fucked up. And he was such a strong human. He was like giga jacked. He looked like Mac from Always Sunny. We were going home and he's like, let's take a golf cart. And I was like, person who shall not be named. We are very close to home. Hassan didn't go to school with me. What the fuck are you talking about? And he's like, no, we're taking a golf cart. And I was like, please, let's not do this. Let's not take the golf cart. And he's like, we're taking the golf cart. And I was like, oh, all right. Okay, okay. So he starts the golf cart. And I'm like, I don't know if we should do this. This is a pretty bad idea. And he's like, get in. And I was like, okay, dude. All right. Okay, man. So I was riding with him. And I knew this was a bad idea. I knew this was a terrible idea. So he's riding around the golf cart and he immediately clips a curb and floors it into one of the pillars of one of our academic buildings and just shatters this pillar. And I'm like, game over, man. Game over. We gotta go. And he's like, I'm getting this golf cart home. And I was like, please. And I couldn't leave him because he was biblically fucked up. And I was like, don't do this. We have to go. And he's like, get back in. And I'm like, oh God, please. Immediately floors the golf cart into the woods, smashes it into a tree, like closes the front end of the car. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God, what have we done? We've destroyed this golf cart. It is destroyed. And I'm like, we now have to dispose of the evidence. We have to. And I like peeled his ass out of this golf cart and put him in the fucking passenger seat. And I'm like, we're getting rid of this golf cart. And we drove it back to where we lived and hid it in the woods. Oh yeah, wow. And I have never told that story. I've never told that story. For the next 3 weeks, I was convinced we were getting thrown out of school. I was convinced. I would go read the school paper and it was like, you know fucking school papers, like the fucking Ballsucker Gazette or the fucking Cho Dick Tribune or whatever the fuck it's called. And it's like some, 20-year-old and he's like, breaking news on Elon's campus. Golf cart goes missing. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, this is it. Oh, God, your parents were right. You're not going to make it through one semester of college. And I would just stay up at night sweating.